Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. Can you believe it? We are in February and everything is on fire with how much action is going on. I'm going to jump into the news in a moment. Welcome back to You Are Free TV. Welcome back to the channel. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. Okay, so I always start by saying thank you. Thank you so much to everybody supporting the channel monthly. You make it happen. And of course, at the beginning of the month, which is today is the first day I'm getting up here in February, we have, of course, the incredible winners of the C60 Evo capsules giveaway. c60evo.com/YAFTV, the incredible ESS60 made in Houston, Texas, at the best lab in the world. And we have Carol and Carol who are the recipients today. And those emails will be going out to you, two longtime supporters of You Are Free TV. Were randomly selected this month, and congratulations. And I just love that I'm able to give 2 bottles of the capsules away every month. I love them. It is what you carry in your pocket if you just want to have instant energy and clarity during your day, but also, for everything to do with everything that the olive oil is holding the most of the C60 Evo in there, the ESS60, to give you all of the great results, whether it is fighting to get your cells cleared out of garbage, your mitochondria being superpowered to do that with your glutathione and your melatonin. Goes on from there, but I've been talking about it forever. But congratulations, Carol and Carol. And let's jump into the news. Okay, obviously off the hook since the Epstein tranche has been released, and it is giving people, we've been working 10 years on this. If you look at way back to 2016, we get the WikiLeaks. 2017, we get Q. We get all of this ongoing, what is slowly coming to fruition of the reveal of cartel Babylon. Okay, that is the economy of sin. And what I'm going to get into in this video is the red, blue, green alliance. A lot of talk about the red, green alliance and this communism connected with Islam to come and overthrow Western civilization. But clearly, through the Epstein tranche that came out and the 3 million documents, the videos, all of it, that there's a blue situation in there. And that has to do with Israel. And it is very, very clear. And so interesting. You have, of course, Tyler Robinson in court again today with Charlie Kirk's murder, all of that happening. But we're going to jump in here with some interesting news and yeah, try to break it down. So basically, and I'll put the glasses on here and get in. We're gonna talk about Ed Martin. All this mainstream media, just like Tulsi Gabbard, they're trying to come out and say she's been, the whistleblowers against her coming out, which is totally fake. The same thing with Ed Martin. He has been transferred, it seems like. And we have the 2 grand juries in Florida. A grand conspiracy are the cases. And we're going to get into that in a moment. But I want to get into here for, what is really interesting things here. We have Jill Biden's ex-husband, Bill Stevenson, okay? This is Bill Stevenson. Jill Biden was with him when she first started supposedly babysitting Joe Biden's kids, infiltrating her way into the Biden household as what it looks like a giant handler. But you have her ex-husband, Bill Stevenson, arrested for murdering his wife, Linda Stevenson. This literally is just happening. Arrested for murdering his wife, Linda Stevenson, in recent days. And so what the heck is going on there? Well, I would assume this has something to do with covering up information, covering up a loose cannon. and whatever the agreement is there. We know, remember back in the day, way back, Biden and his first wife just happened to die in this car accident when he was elected as the youngest senator, and all of this reaching way back, and he lost his wife and child in the car accident, and then very quickly marries, of course, Jill Stevenson, who then becomes Jill Biden, and all of this that goes into it. So it is really interesting to watch this play out, and I think it might be a clue to what we're going to be seeing going forward with some accidents, right? Or accidents or murders or whatever, but probably deemed accidents, deemed plane crashes, helicopter crashes, this kind of thing. When we have today, of course, we have the Clintons agreeing to come forward to basically agree to this deposition hours before they were going to be held in contempt of Congress and have charges against them, that they have supposedly agreed to come, and what is supposed to be a public testimony and a hearing in front of the U.S. Congress. And this is very interesting. We don't know the details of what they agreed to with these depositions, but it'll be very interesting to see if they make it there. It looks like those dates for HRC and Bill, HRC to appear before the House for this deposition on February 26th, and then Bill Clinton on February 27th. That seems very short of a time. I think this should be like a couple weeks, okay, of these people. One day certainly won't cover their 30-year relationship with Epstein and everything that came out just even in this last tranche. And also, let's remember that we have Chuck Grassley is still going after that Wiener laptop, the laptop of evil, where you had something like 12 FBI agents died. Okay, they shot themselves in the back of the head out of depression after viewing this Wiener laptop. And remember that Anthony Weiner mirrored the laptop of Hillary Clinton that was connected to Huma Abedin, his wife at the time, who she's now married to Alex Soros. So you have Huma Abedin, and I've talked about this a few months ago, her involvement in the creation of Islamist, communist programs here in the USA. When she was younger, that was her job, and she was really good at it, and she was central in it all throughout Columbia University and in New York. That this red-green alliance has been going on for obviously decades. This Bolshevik Islamist overthrow of the USA, color revolution that we're experiencing right now. Huma Abedin came up that way, just like Zoran Mamdani. And in the Epstein tranche, we see Zoran Mamdani's mother with Jeffrey Epstein. We see that he has been created just like Barack Obama was, and by John Brennan, Brennan being central in and the grooming and creation of Barack Obama to be the golden boy, first African American supposedly president of the United States. And the same thing with Mamdani. And what I'm trying to say here is, thank goodness that Chuck Grassley, thank God that Chuck Grassley is doing the big lifting here, getting this Wiener laptop into being ready for release, investigation. Okay, everything horrifying and disgusting that everybody's been seeing with the Epstein reveal in this latest tranche is times 10 on that Wiener laptop, and what I'm trying to describe here is these agents of color revolution against the United States. That's just such a pretty way of saying it. It is a attempted overthrow of the United States of America to do with the globalist cartel Babylon is what I call them. But this is, of course, the billionaire elite that is connected with Islam, Israeli billionaires or Jewish billionaires, and the Bank of England and the royals of the EU, and how they want to create what is this transhumanist overthrow, total surveillance prison planet, right? Through the economy of sin, what they've been using now for decades and decades, and longer throughout history. Hence why, if you look through the Abrahamic religion, why these things keep getting destroyed by God. But basically, what we're looking at here is a massive expose built since 2016. As I said, you had WikiLeaks, then you had Pizzagate, then you had the QAnon reveals started coming, and then it was the Epstein tranches, and it keeps going on where now people all across the board are getting educated to the extent where we can now actually talk about these topics and have people know what we're talking about without it being crazy, even though it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And so when we look at this and we see this upcoming deposition with the Clintons now scheduled, you have to wonder if they'll make it there, if they'll be like Epstein. One thing in the tranche was the man who had put out the post on Twitter, basically saying, "Hey, just saw Epstein being taken out of the prison, the Met, okay, where he was in shackles in a medical wheelchair being wheeled out." This is as, of course, Bill Barr was the last person to go and visit Epstein in the prison. Bill Barr, former AG to Trump, and also way back to George H.W. Bush. And we get this situation where he ran Iran-Contra, all of it. His father, the Dalton School. I mean, I could say the same things you already know over and over. But people continuously don't mention this, that Bill Barr was the last person to visit Epstein. Okay. And then he's squirreled out of the prison, and then Epstein is dead. He hung himself with paper sheets, and we're all supposed to believe it, but we don't. And this thing of him being supposedly, for entertainment purposes only, squirreled out to Israel. And so, very interesting if this same thing could happen to the Clintons for entertainment purposes only, as they go to this deposition, or how they're going to handle what we hope will be heavy hitting questions, but we never know with our feckless and awful Congress, who just passed, of course, today now the appropriations bills to reopen. Ooh, they reopened the government. Wow, isn't that exciting? As if we cared, because keep it shut as far as I'm concerned. But the SAVE Act is what we wanted, the Save America Act. We wanted the voting reform, all of everything to do with election reform. We wanted to be put in there, but no, we don't get that, unfortunately. So that really is gross and disgusting. And so if you want to hit up John Thune, who is the major one who prevented that from happening, 202-224-2321 for John Thune. It's not even McConnell anymore, because he's basically non-compos mentis anymore. He's just drooling. But the council, of course, was behind McConnell. The council being the Pilgrim Society out of the city of London, and controlled with the Israeli billionaires, the royals, those billionaires. But we also had today, and yes, we need that SAVE Act. And Trump keeps hinting out that there should be some federal executive order coming down to control what's going on with the 2026 elections, especially as we see people like Spanberger in Virginia saying we won't even have paper ballots anymore. It's all going to be just machine. And she wants central counting out of the Secretary of State, the Islamist, her Secretary of State in Virginia, to be able to the only one who counts the ballots, not by county. And so this is a war between Patriots 250 and what is going on here with the attempted continuous overthrow of our government. We're seeing everybody in New York City, even the leftists, being super pissed off about Mom Donnie's inability to clear the streets of basic snow and garbage after what wasn't a massive storm, like a foot of snow. That's nothing. Been doing it in the Northeast. They've been doing it forever. And so there's all these complaints going down. But the point is to drive people out of New York City. The Islamists, just like with London, want to take over. But it's, as I said, the red, blue, green alliance. Okay, the communist Bolshevik people in the street that are creating no-go zones in Minneapolis now, harassing everybody, somehow having all access to these license plate readers, which I discussed in my last video, several videos, but the operatives involved in using their government access for license plate reading, going to these street operatives, these Antifas on the street that are able to look up license plates. They're just literally operatives on the streets that can look up license plates of anybody, run their information to see if they are independent journalists, whoever, and harassing them constantly and trying to steal their electronics, immediately harassing them through their license plate numbers. This is insurrection, 100%. This is access to databases that is entirely criminal, but we're seeing it going on. And we also saw Prince Andrew, who's no longer Prince, and he's obvious, and he's not even a Mountbatten, but that is their adopted name. These vampires out of Transylvania, the Saxburg Gothas, that run the royal elites there in England. And you have to wonder, is Prince William part of the dismantling of their empire of cartel Babylon? No hard proof there, but it seems like there's just something going on here with Prince William to do with siding of taking England back from this massive cartel Babylon, wasteland that has become the UK. But we'll see about that. But we did see that Prince Andrew did surrender himself to police in England today. So that's also just another massive thing. And so as we look at all this, I did watch an incredible interview with, it was Pete Santilli with Alex Jones today, and this was really very interesting as we're looking at this all going down. And Trump, he signed the bill, the government opening again bill today, and kept distancing himself over and over from Epstein, except to constantly talk about Michael Wolff and this conspiracy to go against him and to throw shade on him and to destroy his political career. Well, I really believe that Trump continues to distance himself because this is all in the auspices of the grand conspiracy cases that are going on in Florida. Okay, and these have begun; they're going full bore, and that Ed Martin is super part of this. So what the mainstream media is saying, oh, Blanche threw him out. He's removed from the DOJ. He's not on top of the weaponization of government anymore. And we'll wait and see, because it looks like behind the scenes he is being brought in a special White House position to do with what's going to go down. Very much how McDonald, the new person, assistant AG in charge of nationwide fraud, is also being directly answering to the president. I think this is also happening with Ed Martin. And the weaponization of government, it goes directly into the conspiracy against rights cases. And this has to do with where our government executed a plan and a huge battle against the American people, defrauding all of us, whether it was our vote in the 2020 election, or all of the censorship and the deplatforming, all of the attacks on Christians and Catholics, and ongoing from there, right? Individual people hugely and massively harassed. And so these are huge cases that are going on. And what Pete Santelli had to say was that Ed Martin knows about how this went down with the specific spying on Americans, and it had to do with locating the CIA spy servers that were operating as their own NSA. We know that we have the new NSA director coming in, so that will be interesting to watch him. But this apparently is in Fort Washington in Maryland. Very interesting to watch there, and we're going to see what goes down as this is rolling out, and it is being very held close to the breast, of course. But Ed Martin is a stand-up guy, and so we're going to see what goes down here. We're seeing this kind of Kantian dialectic, this sort of counterpoint, like a pendulum, right? Where David Icke calls it the totalitarian two-step, but this is a dialectic where back and forth for the last 10 years, you're seeing right versus left, and all these accusations to do with Epstein, Pizzagate, the WikiLeaks material, all of it, where it's like, pushed against right and left, and that's the false paradigm, right? That's the false paradigm. We have the uniparty that are all involved, but the dialectic has worked to wake up different sectors of the American population and the world's population to understand the levels of criminality and depravity and Satanism, and they are satanic. They are satanic, evil, sick individuals with lots of power and money. And they've been building this for hundreds of years, if not thousands. Of course, Satan's been around a long time, and the cartel Babylon has been around a long time, ginning this up, creating it, back to the Rothschilds probably is a great point of exponential expansion of what became the Red, Blue, Green Alliance of using totalitarianism, Bolshevism, just as we're seeing in the streets of Minnesota, as I described, where you have Antifa types, bought and paid for, going and harassing. What are you doing in our neighborhood? We saw your license plate. We know who you are. And kicking them out and scaring them away. That is exactly brown shirts, Bolshevism, whatever you want to call it. That is a Bolshevik revolution on our streets ongoing right now. And so as we watch this going on, we have to be very excited about so many things. It was interesting. I did see this, and I will get back to what Pete Santilli had to say, because very, very interesting. And of course, as all of this is going down, we see Elon Musk's X headquarters in Paris raided by Europol today, basically, interestingly enough, for Holocaust denier information going out through X, Holocaust denier information, and and of course, sexually related deep fakes, as if they care, right? Deep fakes, as if all of these people going against it have the real thing, have the real files, have the real criminality against them. And so, if you don't know, Pete Santilli, he was the one arrested after the Bundy Ranch raids and the Barack Obama creating this attempted takeover of that whole area and everything to do with, trying to steal that land there in Eastern Oregon. Well, Pete Santilli has been involved in huge amounts of getting information with the whole team to the DOJ. And connected to this conspiracy against rights cases. And what he had to say is that former NSA analyst and specialist at the head, straight at the top there at NSA, remember William Benny, whistleblower about NSA to do with WikiLeaks, to do with Ed Snowden, to, inform the people that, yes, we're all being spied on. And I interviewed him on this channel many years ago. Perhaps he will be willing to come on again with me, but he apparently is working directly with the team of Gabbard, the team of this conspiracy against rights cases in Florida on what's going on here with these secret servers connected with CIA, Mossad, to do with the spying on the American people out of Fort Washington, Maryland. So Bill Benny's on the team. This is amazing and fantastic. And that Israeli intelligence appears to be central in there. And this is about Susan Rice, Barack Obama, Brennan, all of them, Comey, and thousands of operatives underneath them. And so we're looking at what looks like a continuity of government style, mini, just awareness going on out of the Trump administration, where they are wrestling back. Our control has been hugely through our energy and our grid system and the Rothschilds, etc., owning it, okay, for the last, forever, since electricity was invented. Basically, we have the Rothschilds super in charge with the Rockefellers, but the Rothschilds hugely owning most of the grid. And that gets into what we've seen with the weather wars, with the destruction through fire, all of these operations that have gone down, um, being basically targeted right now, our grid being targeted, and President Trump apparently putting out what it looks like a continuity of government approach to take back our Department of Energy's control over these operations, but also fear of not just false flags, but attacks on our grid system between the CCP and Islamists. And this gets into Tom Homan, his announcement, what he'd been saying in this last week of, hey, those 2 million gotaways that didn't want the money, that didn't come in to just defraud our systems. They're operatives. They are 2 million military age men that are planned to be here as an attempted overthrow, attempted battles and attacks on our country. And it looks like that Trump is going after them with basically getting defense in place to do with very vital energy grid structures in the USA right now, that they're expecting attacks. They're expecting it after the Epstein tranche release. They're expecting there to be some major hits coming our way. So we're going to keep watching that and see what goes on there. But it is also, just incredible to watch as this goes down. And the code word there was raise shields to protect the grid and our energy infrastructure. And of course, this gets into where the Trump administration is moving, and the combination, as we've been talking about on this channel, of the Truth Social network combining with this fusion energy company. And what is coming, that people are talking about, saying is coming, is that this is going to be about free energy. This isn't going to be about just a surveillance takeover state and the use of nuclear fusion only to help the few, but that it is going to be the USA leading the way, introducing free energy to the people of the United States, and that it's going to go out from there to be able to defeat this cartel Babylon, who relies always on energy, whether it is our own personal energy, the attacks on our energy, the attacks on us as human beings, who are the main creators and purveyors of energy. Our brains make more energy than any electrical system, which is why they're trying to attack them so hard and have done with the biogenocide weapons. And what we're seeing now, what happened right at the end of 2025, right before Davos, et cetera, and everything they're planning and trying to do, is that we're seeing that they did I think it was called the Crystal. It was the WHO again, and Trump removed us from that just at the same time. But the Crystal uh, uh, pandemic experiment, basically, just like they did before COVID, where again we're seeing this Nipah virus out of Southeast Asia and all of that, where they did another pandemic planning event right before Davos, and we're going to see what comes out of that. But it's just starting to break that actually came out. And so we're watching this as we're seeing all this breaking news about the FBI raiding a home in Las Vegas to do with biowarfare and having its own little private garage bio lab, where they basically have found multiple contagions, multiple pathogens, and then connected it to a California home. And this had to do with CCP. It had to do with Chinese nationals. And they are, we don't know the details yet, but something like 29 pathogens, all these liquids, centrifuge, what they were planning probably to release and into the United States. So we'll keep watching as all of that is coming out. But we see Trump passing yesterday, signing the executive order for Project Vault, and Project Vault is this plan where it's basically $15 billion going towards critical minerals to be completely housed and saved and protected for the American infrastructure. That this is a program basically also with smelting and also creating the processing of these minerals in the United States, stopping the reliance on China for they're not, they don't have the edge on rare earth minerals. They just have controlled the apparatus, the industry for processing them. And so Trump is creating the processing of rare earths here in the USA. And of course, a lot of this will go to the military, but a lot of it is going to also go to this nuclear fusion project. So we shall continue to watch what goes on there. And so as we continue on here, um, I wanted to mention a couple other important little tidbits um, that have been going on. I mean, there's so much news that you just can't even like. It's just off the hook. But we have the convenient, again, talking about cartel Babylon and the Red, Blue, Green Alliance. It's like an Abrahamic attack. Like you just like watch Christ coming out of the ashes to fight against these people. But when we look at what happened today, we had very much planned where not necessarily the Ayatollah himself, but the people, his higher ups in his administration in Iran, getting ready to go and negotiate with Witkoff and Jared Kushner's always around, but basically and others, where there's going to be Iran-U.S. talks that the Ayatollah had agreed to them literally this morning. And then what happens is that right on schedule, right on schedule, just never fails, that then we get, of course, supposedly the US takes out a plane, a drone from Iran that just magically and amazingly gets too close to the USS Lincoln battle carrier group there in the Arabian Sea, 500 miles off of Iran, and it gets shot down by the U.S. military. And so this is always the scenario, but we keep going on, just like with Ukraine, where you had, of course, Zelensky agreeing to all of the terms of not just the U.S. plans, the requirements for a ceasefire from Russia, but the EU as well. And of course, that is because our Israel North friends, kidding, this plan, Putin said from the beginning, Zelensky is a controlled puppet out of military intelligence out of Israel. And that's why I've been talking about Israel North and the Build Back Babylon Better plan for Ukraine and this kind of battleground Death Star that they want, as they can't give up this notion of World War III with Russia. But now we're seeing that with BlackRock on board after Davos and before. But the plan has always, not always, but it's been in the works for a long time that basically BlackRock is going to run the Build Back Better Babylon. Larry Fink, head player there in the Blue Alliance, where basically $800 billion is going to go into rebuild the destroyed Ukraine and make it a a massively smart country. All of the what was the breadbasket there of Eastern Europe and beyond, and forever just fertile ground now destroyed by every chemical and awful thing you can imagine. They're, the vertical farming, all of it, plus military, massively creating a huge infrastructure there, for NATO, but not of NATO, right? And so we're going to keep watching that. But then, of course, the 1 week ceasefire, that Russia had agreed to was over, and they started hitting them again. Yesterday, started hitting Ukraine again with Russia. And so that is what's going on. It keeps just keeps moving. And then, of course, we see as Portugal is getting finally some control against the EU with with a populist right wing presidency trying to lurch forward. We get next to them with Spain, conquered for 700 years by the Islamists, basically massively leftist government there in Spain, bringing in 600,000 Muslim males, okay, from Africa. And so there you have the uh, uh, what's her name, Irina Montero, central person in the government, coming out and saying, I hope for the replacement migration theory to be true. I hope for a replacement migration, that we can replace the right wingers and the fascists in our country with migrants, and therefore get rid of the native people of Spain. Remember the Reconquista, what it took to get the Muslims out before. And this attack, as spelled out during Davos, of where you have the heads of the Jewish rabbinical, elites coming out and saying that we have to unite with Islam, and we have to go against Europeans, Christian West, for there to be a Muslim Jewish alliance against hate, against all these phobias that they describe. When basically we're talking politics, we're talking policies, we're talking about the rights of Native Europeans to live their lives. But this is a conquering methodology that they're walking through and moving through. And it's keeping moving forward here in Spain massively, as they're going to bring in these massive amounts of Muslim males out of Africa into Spain. And if it's 500, 600,000, then you can spread that out to be like 3 million, 3.5 million when it comes to reunification of their families. And that's just the little tiny country of Spain, right? When you look at this and you think of like Colin Georgescu, who they stole the election from in Romania, his he one of his, he had been at the top of the UN. He knew everything going down with all of their plans to destroy the industry through all their green crap. And he had said, 8 million children go missing every year. That is the satanic cabal, and that comes straight out of the royals out of Europe and these Bolshevik Nazis. And he basically is saying, 8 million children missing, and that's the entire population of Austria, right? And that's central, because he was Jeffersonian. He had studied in America. He believed in the Republic, and how the writings of our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, were for the world to get sovereignty in their independent nations in Europe that has been captured by this EU, by this European Union that has destroyed Europe. And so as we watch this, there was something else really important there connected with that. I wanted to mention. What was that? Something important, but I'll get back there. If not today, then tomorrow. Another connection to do with that. But as we watch, everything going on with the Gabbard and the attacks on her, she is central. all the exposés coming out of the Epstein files, and now Wall Street Journal coming out with a fake old whistleblower complaint from last year that was already debunked and said to be garbage. She is surrounding herself only with people who she absolutely trusts. The reason they hate her is because they can't infiltrate her. They can't get their deep state or holdovers in to control what she's doing. They can only attack her, create these false leaks, keep trying to do this. And it did turn out that Andrew Bailey, who is the co-assistant director of the FBI still, very interestingly, and I wonder if he's only reporting to President Trump as well, but it turns out he also was there on the site at Fulton County in Georgia, which is now filing a lawsuit for against, of course, the Trump administration for this FBI raid. And it's very interesting. There was 12 different field offices involved in this, and basically uh, they're using Title 52 of U.S. Code, two different sections to deal with fraud undertaken by election workers, and the crimes committed in that by these election workers was the basis for the FBI raid, even though you could go much harder than that and much fuller. But we're going to keep watching here because the machines, they have all the machine information, obviously, and it is all part of what's going to go down. So we'll continue to watch it. Obviously, this week there's going to be a lot more coming out and happening. And so let's see. I think I might leave it there here at 42 minutes. I have a lot more to say. Maybe I'll mention this. Doc Pete Chambers is running for governor in Texas, and I think it's really interesting that you don't really see him on like Bannon's War Room, and very interesting also, I'll say, with Bannon in the interviews that came out with Epstein, there was some really interesting stuff said there. And let me see if I can find that real quick, and then we'll go to Doc Pete Chambers because he needs volunteers and needs your money. 1836, the independence of Texas. Just hit that button on his donate page, and you can give a fairly cheap donation there to him. But something here with Zorro Ranch and Bannon and what had to do, and this came out of Liz Crokin, who's fantastic for the last 10 years, covering everything from Pizzagate, WikiLeaks, the Q stuff, to now, but always to do with child trafficking and especially girls harmed. But she was talking about Bannon's interviewing Epstein, because Bannon for the last couple of years keeps saying, oh, I interviewed Epstein, I'm getting that ready to release, never did. But in these interviews, what came out through the tranche of Epstein recently was that you have this reference to do with Zorro Ranch, which has very little. Apparently, there is vaults of information from Zorro Ranch, and we know this is everything from cloning to baby farming to everything else. But what Epstein kept saying in this interview was, well, we've got these strange things going on, strange things. And what Crokin was connecting it to was Stranger Things, right? The very popular TV show about kids that are tortured to have to enhance and amplify their psychic abilities, their neural kinetic abilities, and using torture methods to bring those out in order to create these these superpowered kids, right? We've seen it's getting out of vogue right now to a certain point. But in the last 10 years, if you think about it, the massive thing with Marvel and DC and all this push through Hollywood was all of these kids with superpowers, right? And a lot of it's dark, and all of this. But Epstein coming out with Bannon and saying, it's about these strange things that we're really interested in. And Stephen King, he's massive, crazy, creepo acolyte of these people, massive Trump derangement syndrome, whatever his deal is up there in Maine. Um, creepy to have a mind like that. But he came out with a book, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but it was made also um, into a Netflix thing or something, but the same sort of thing, where we have these institution where these kids are brought and they're tortured and they're deprived and they're bribed with alcohol and other things through vending machines that they get through tokens if they behave and um, do their testings on them well. And this is all gets into it, but this has been going on forever, people. You can go way back into the Montauk Project. You can go into the Montauk Boys. You can go into, the Mengele. You can go into World War II. You can go into the Nazi experimentation. I mean, this thing about using children for their brain power goes way back into uh, theosophy and those circles where they weren't necessarily torturing the kids, but they were using young girls especially for their psychic powers to connect with other dimensions. And now we have CERN, tripling, quadrupling its capacity that is going live very soon. Okay, that CERN is now, I think, going to be 5 times more powerful. Huge amounts with CERN of how big this Hadron Collider is. Let me see if I can find that real quick. It is like enormous amounts of miles. Let me see. Where is that? Yeah, CERN. Yeah, CERN. There, it's just using our atmosphere, our dimension as a war zone, basically. But with CERN, it is increasing its at 56 miles. Okay, so 56 miles is this tunnel of this massive Hadron Collider, Hadron Collider. And interestingly, John Trump, um, uh, Trump's uncle, who went and was the one to investigate the Tesla papers after the death of Tesla. Um, he basically was involved in creating the first particle accelerators, and that's what this Hadron Collider is a massive particle accelerator that now is going to be 56 miles long in creating this massive interaction here of um, of these particles to access other dimensions and create portals through which the demons come, right? And when you look at, the Epstein files and what's come out with all of the Epstein's different bank accounts being called Baal and other demon names, and that they're all Satanist people. They eat children. It's sick for entertainment purposes only. We know this, okay? We know this, and we're going to stop them, and that's what this is all about. And so we're very excited to be part of it right now because that's our choice. That's what we have. Okay, and we continue. You know what's so powerful is prayer. You know what I loved watching is over the weekend, that massive storm that they were trying to gin up, that they were trying to destroy the people of the Southeast with. They couldn't get it, they couldn't get it up, right? They couldn't get it up. And there was millions of people praying, okay, to stop that from happening. And prayer is paramount, right? And God carries us in our own private little arcs, where we are building up. We're in this massive maelstrom of cartel Babylon and their assault, their war upon us. But God keeps carrying us through, keeps carrying us through. And that's where prayer is so important because soon we're going to reach, right, that those sunny uplands or just that the sunshine coming through the windows. And we're going to know it's time to step off of the ark and have this win, this defeat of cartel Babylon. It is so important to understand what's going on here. And of course, we're going to be watching, as I talk about the ark and Noah's ark, the water war. That's the next attack is going after the water, as they have been, but now they're ramping it up hugely. So we'll keep watching, and there's so much more I want to say. Truly, but I can't fit it in all tonight. here at 50 minutes. So I'm going to take off the glasses. And I will mention this, and Dark Journalist brought this up as I'm speaking of CERN, is that the Bank of England just put out, I think it was last week, and it's of course Daniel List, Dark Journalist, fantastic reporter on everything to do with breakaway civilization technology, UFO files, everything connected with the government, assassinations, all of it. He's fantastic, but that the Bank of England, you had a Helen McCaw, who is head of bank security for the Bank of England, right? So Carney's bestie, Helen McCaw, she said we must prepare for an alien invasion. Okay. Um, if the USA declassifies UFO technology, which they're supposedly meant to do this June, is the big old date where now we get the next announcement of disclosure, that basically that we have to prepare for the banks not to collapse. If that information comes out, it will be a massive run on the banks, and that they are literally preparing for this also with the CERN reboot of the 56-mile tunnel, 5 times larger than it was previously, with $26 billion in funding. So we will see and we will watch. It is going to be really interesting to see. These next few months are going to be epic. Okay, as if it already has been. 2026 is already just like a maelstrom of information and battle, battle, battle. And so I want you all to, really just, clean up your war room and get in there with your full armor of God and pray, 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 because we are the ones that make the difference, as Christ, Prince of Peace, being our battle commander. So get out there and pray and take action, 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 action as the midterms come and the primaries coming up starting really soon here in March. We saw that defeat in Texas. That was just ridiculous that that you didn't have your Republicans getting out and vote, or the steal, both. And hence why Trump is saying we might have to federalize this situation. And they didn't pass the SAVE Act today when they could have, should have. And we have the criminal people controlled by the council out of the City of London, the Pilgrim Society, still ruling over these things. So it's a battle, it's going on, but we're going to keep fighting it. So take up your sword of God's truth and keep fighting. And I will mention my fantastic sponsor here at the end of the channel. But first, I just want to say, if you found something useful in understanding here of what is that red, blue, green alliance, everything that came out in the Epstein tranches points to it, a satanic cartel Babylon, uniting different ends of the created Abrahamic spectrum, right? Of you have your Islamists and Zionists connecting up in this big old love fest to defeat what they say is those awful right-wing Christians that in that Western society and civilization. And this is those people are a small number of people. Look at the map of the United States. When you look at the red map, and it's just like everywhere except a few strongholds of blue cities and along the California coast. This, it's like the Wizard of Oz with the big old giant, the giant amounts of amplification of their message by controlling and capturing mainstream media and all of social media, and getting behind the scenes to get control with their bots and everything else. We are fighting this situation to destroy Christian civilization in order to create a prison planet controlled by AI and transhumanism, and to give preferable rights to augmented people, all of it. You saw, and in the Epstein files, it was, Tom Pritzker. He said he is numero uno. He's number one, right? Pritzker. And also, and Pritzker, of course, being, the cousin of the Pritzker, who is the governor of Illinois. and their control and running and funding of the trans kids um, surgery operation. Okay, said in the Epstein files that they want this trans kids thing because it sexualizes children and it creates this whole market going forward for designer babies, which we're already seeing coming out of Sam Altman with ChatGPT and his husband, and how they're trying to produce this situation where you can go and choose from hundreds of eggs of which is the best what is the best genome that you want, and then just toss the rest of these human embryos away, these human eggs that could be children. It's all quite disgusting. But I also wanted to mention, and this is disturbing as well, is that we see that Kevin Warsh, okay, the new selected head of the Fed, Kevin Warsh, I didn't know this before, but it came to my attention that he is the son-in-law of Ron Lauder. Ron Lauder, as in the Estee Lauder cosmetics mogul empire, that he's the inheritor of that, and he is the father-in-law of Kevin Warsh. And so we're going to keep digging in there, and we're going to definitely dig in. So just wanted to let you know that it's such a deluge. I wish I had a team, and that gets into my next comment. If you found something that's useful and added value in this video, could you please support the channel? It will allow me to help fight the censors, the shadow banning, and help me to just expand, not to mention do great things for my daily life as I try to keep this channel going. So if you want to donate, there's ways to do so below, and it is so appreciated, as well as your news tips, your comments, your prayers. I appreciate it all so much. And also, please check out my incredible sponsor, C60evo.com. They're fighting on the Maha level to help people get the crud out of their brains, out of their mitochondria, right out of their trillions of cells. Okay, that's what we need to fight inflammaging, fight the turbo aging, I call it, of what they've unleashed with the bioweapon that they did to us. That this mass increase in people aging rapidly and degenerative diseases hitting people out of nowhere, all the turbos, right? So check it out. It cleans out your cells, and it is a fantastic, incredibly pure product of pure form of carbon-60, made in the best lab in the world with organic and fantastic ingredients. Check it out, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. It's all in the description below. Anybody who donates to the channel immediately gets an email sent to you with 15% off and a new code and way to access it. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. You are free. We are free. This is an incredible time where all the work for 10 years that we've all been doing is getting closer and closer to cognition, because awareness is what allows change to happen. And what we focus on, of course, is what grows. So focus on the good, everyone. That's so important. Focus on the good and focus on the future, what you want this country to look like and the world to look like without these evil cartel Babylon players in control. You are free. I'll see you tomorrow.